Okay, so you know that moment. Maybe you're looking out a high window or just driving. And for a split second, there's this weird pull, this urge to just swerve or step closer to the edge. It can be really unsettling.
Definitely.
But it turns out this feeling, sometimes called the call of the void, is, well, surprisingly common.
It really is. And it's fascinating, that this fleeting, maybe even disturbing thought has been chewed over by some major thinkers.
Right. So that's what this deep dive is about. We're looking at this call of the void using philosophy, drawing from that great absurdity video on Camus, Kierkegaard, and Seneca.
Exactly. We want to unpack what this feeling, this sort of internal jolt, might actually mean, according to them.
Yeah, like is it some hidden desire, a brain glitch, or, something deeper about being alive?
Yeah.
Let's kick off with Albert Camus and his whole idea of the absurd.
Okay, Camus. He famously talked about life as this repetitive cycle of absurdity.
Right.
We're born, we struggle, we live our lives, and then, well, we die. And for Camus, this cycle forces a big question. Is all this effort worth it, given the end?
So he wasn't necessarily saying people want to die when they feel this call.
Not directly, no. It's more about that fundamental clash, isn't it, between our deep-seated need for meaning, for purpose, and a universe that just seems silent on the matter. Indifferent.
Okay. So the call of the void, from Camus' perspective, it's like a sudden, sharp awareness of that indifference, that absurdity.
Exactly. It's like you're face to face with it for a second. That feeling isn't necessarily, I want to jump, but more like a visceral, what is the actual point of holding on?
That makes sense. It's confronting the meaninglessness itself.
Precisely. But crucially, Camus didn't say, okay, game over, despair. His whole thing was about rebelling against that void.
Oh, so.
By looking the absurd straight in the eye, acknowledging the lack of inherent cosmic meaning, and then choosing to live anyway, choosing to find value despite the silence.
So you embrace the meaninglessness. That sounds hard.
It is. But for Camus, that very act of rebellion, of creating your own subjective meaning in a meaningless universe, that's where happiness could actually be found. It's defiant.
So the call is maybe a prompt, a reminder that meaning isn't given. It's made by us.
That's a great way to put it. The responsibility is ours.
Okay, interesting. Now let's switch it up. Søren Kierkegaard. He comes at this from a pretty different angle, doesn't he?
Completely different. Kierkegaard, often called the father of existentialism. He wasn't seeing meaninglessness in that call. He saw freedom, radical freedom.
Freedom? How does freedom connect to that dark urge?
Well, Kierkegaard thought that feeling isn't really about wanting death. It's about suddenly, terrifyingly realizing the sheer power you have, the power to make choices.
Even self-destructive ones.
Especially those.
Yeah.
It's the shocking awareness that you could turn the wheel, you could step off. Not because you want to end things necessarily, but because you recognize you possess the absolute freedom to do so.
Wow. Okay, so the void isn't an empty universe. It's the vast, maybe terrifying expanse of our own free will.
That's it. It's the dizziness of freedom, as he might put it. The anxiety that comes with knowing you're not just a puppet on strings. You're actually in control, even of your own cessation.
That is a heavy thought, the anxiety of freedom.
Very. And Kierkegaard saw this moment, this call, as a potential spiritual crisis point. That overwhelming what if. He warned against, giving in to that despair just to prove your freedom.
Right, because that would be, well, the ultimate loss of freedom, ironically.
Exactly. Instead, he talked about the leap of faith, moving beyond that anxiety, that void of possibility.
So for Kierkegaard, the temptation itself is like a weird affirmation of freedom, but the real act of freedom is choosing.
Choosing life, choosing to live with that massive freedom and the responsibility it entails. That's the courageous choice.
That flips the script entirely. Okay. Yeah. Now, Seneca, the Stoic, his story feels, more about the human cause.
Absolutely. Seneca's perspective is grounded in his own harsh experience. He genuinely contemplated suicide when he was suffering terribly from an illness. He saw it initially as a logical way out of intense pain.
But he didn't go through with it. The Absurdism video mentioned his father.
Yes, that was the turning point. He started thinking about the immense grief his death would cause his elderly father. It stopped being just about his suffering.
It became about the suffering he would inflict on someone else.
Precisely. And that shifted everything. He chose to live not because the pain vanished, but, as he framed it, as an act of courage.
Courage for his father.
Exactly, for the sake of another person. It was this powerful realization that our lives aren't lived in isolation. Our choices ripple outwards,
Yeah.
They deeply affect the people we're connected.
That's a really important point. Stoicism often focuses on inner resilience, accepting what you can't control, but Seneca's story here really highlights relationships, connection.
It does. It brings in this vital dimension of interconnected.
So Seneca's view throws up a big question then. Is the main reason we pull back from that void ultimately about other people? Is that the anchor
It's definitely a powerful anchor he identifies. And it's fascinating how these three views, Camus' rebellion, Kierkegaard's freedom, Seneca's connection, they aren't necessarily contradictory, are they? They sort of complement each other.
Yeah, they feel like different facets of the same complex thing. So putting it together, this call of the void, even though it feels dark or scary, maybe it's actually prompting us.
Prompting us to ask the big questions,
Yeah.
about what it means to be here, to exist.
Right. Like Camus says, maybe it pushes us to actively make meaning when the universe doesn't hand it over.
Or, like Kierkegaard suggests, it shocks us into recognizing just how free we actually are, that choosing life is a powerful choice we make constantly.
And then Seneca reminds us that maybe the most compelling reason to make that choice, to show that courage, is, well, for each other. Because we matter to people.
Exactly. Our lives have weight, consequences. So despite everything, the absurdity, the anxiety, the suffering life, as that video puts it, stays an open question.
And we're the ones answering it every day with our choices. The call is just a stark, maybe jarring reminder of that ongoing process.
Yeah. So maybe we can reframe it, not just as this morbid temptation, as a strange kind of wake-up call, a reminder of our freedom, our potential for courage, and that very human drive to find, or maybe more accurately, create meaning.
Okay, so final thought then for you listening. If this call highlights our freedom, like Kierkegaard says, and resisting it can be an act of courage, maybe for others, like Seneca showed, what meaning, what purpose can you choose? What can you embrace right now, facing all the uncertainties life throws at us?
It's definitely something to think about how these ideas land for you in your own experience.